So we all love dahlias. There are thousands of varieties. Some of them are very precious, and this is why it is really important to know how to take care of these plants in the winter, especially in cold climates. Some people think that dahlias are annual plants for cold climates, and they buy the tuberous roots every year. But dahlias, in fact, are perennial plants. And if you know how to take care of them in the winter, that's actually pretty good. The leaves and stems die at night when the temperature drops to 0 degrees Celsius. But the roots should be taken out of the ground if the night temperature drops to -5 degrees Celsius. If you leave them longer, they will become damaged and they will have a less chance of surviving the winter. So that's very important to remember. In the late fall or before the first frost, I'm going to be digging up my dahlia bushes, cutting the dahlia canes as short as 10 to 15 centimeters long. I'm going to be shaking all the dirt off of the roots, putting them into a box or another container to dry for a few days. So now, before I put the dahlia bulb away, I will actually study the roots carefully for disease or damage. And if I notice any rot or any damage, I will discard of them. They are not going to survive, and besides, they will contaminate the other healthy roots. There's actually one very serious dahlia disease that I'm going to pay attention. Agrobacterium tumefaciens. And this is what causes tumors or galls on the roots and stems of dahlia. If I see something like that, very unnatural looking, some sort of growth, I will discard of that plant immediately. The bacteria is very contagious, and if you leave it without proper respect, this bacteria will kill the dahlias eventually. There is no treatment for this root cancer, and you can only prevent it or control it. So while I am studying the roots, if I see any dividable parts, I'm going to be dividing them for propagation purposes. Dividing the roots in the fall is actually a very good time. The daughter parts will create new growth buds during spring, and this will heal the division place. After checking for this, I'm going to disinfect my dahlia roots to kill off all the bacteria and fungus. Disinfection will increase the survival chances for these dahlias. For that purpose, I will submerge all my roots into a bucket of potassium permanganate solution. People in the comments always ask, where do you buy potassium permanganate? You can check eBay, any aquarium stores or pharmacies in some countries. Just dropping a few crystals of disinfectant into a clean room temperature water solution until the watercolor turns into like this dark pink or purple, leaving the dahlia roots in there for an hour or two. After that, I'm going to be laying them on the bottom of a clean plastic tray. Put them in wet or dry. It doesn't really matter because you're going to cover them with dry peat moss. Dry peat moss is the best coverage for dahlia roots for these specific ones, especially ones over winter. Peat moss protects the roots from dehydration and also from any rotting. It's one of the best materials in my opinion, and this is what I notice growers sell dahlia roots in stores packed with peat moss for better results. Indeed, peat is the best compared to wood chips or any sand or any other materials in my experience. When everything is ready, place the tray with the dahlias into a dark and cool place like a garage, wine cellar, or basement. The best storing temperature would be 5 to 15 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to water it until March. I'm going to keep it dry. And in the early spring, I will begin to add a little bit of water to wake up my dahlias, and then I'm going to move them to the light. I'm going to place them by the window or by a door where the dahlia could receive some amount of natural and or artificial light. The dahlia wakes up pretty fast, and they develop new growth shoots very fast. So in May, or when the danger of a first frost is over, I'm going to plant my dahlias outside. I can still divide the roots at this point, but remember when planting them, you want to make sure the hole is not too deep. It's only about to be 4 to 5 centimeters of soil above the root part. Otherwise, the roots planted very deep during the rain or excess humidity, this might cause root rotting. Now the dahlia life cycle can begin again in the cold climate. I cannot wait to enjoy the flowers that are going to bloom from June to the end of October or until the first frost in the fall. Please leave any of your questions or comments below. And don't forget to subscribe.